Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Samantha Melvin, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. For me, I've had some quiet reading, and unfortunately, it's the teacher kind of reading. So, like my students, it is reading that I too at times don't want to read. And if you don't believe that it's not just me who feels this way, you should probably track down some English professors on Facebook and read some of their posts. Everyone is dying for spring break. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. And at least for me, I get the benefit of sitting down and speaking with you guys about, all the cool pet stuff. So today, we'll be covering something that many people are looking forward to, and that's St. Patrick's Day. And you'll hear about some ways to celebrate with your pets. So where are you going to go to have these fun events? And then maybe we should also talk about, dyeing your pets green and what you should do to keep your furry friends safe and healthy, like not dyeing your pets green. But also, speaking of pets and holidays, we are going to talk about an end of an era, the contest to find the new Cadbury Easter Bunny. And you guys will get an idea of who I'm going to be voting for. But back to St. Patrick's Day. It's a day when we wear green, we pinch each other if we're not wearing green, and if you are of age, you get to go out and drink adult beverages at bars and restaurants, which are packed and, to be honest, loud and crowded and just overall uncomfortable. I just want to stay home and be with the people I care about, like a small group of friends, my husband and the pets. Well, mostly the pets. The friends and the husband, I'm not quite sure yet, but who knows, that might change. Problem is, though, that you really should not be pinching your pets for wearing green. And adult beverages? No, definitely not. At the very least, you could be dressing them up in green so that the faintest impulse to pinch them is banished from your brain. So to have your pet as a companion for St. Patrick's Day is actually kind of difficult. Sure, the easy solution would be to find a dog-friendly place for your beverage drinking and hang out with your friends and your least trained pets while enjoying some Irish whiskey. Why not? But probably Fido or Mr. Snuggles the cat or Mr. Foxy Shazam the guinea pig are just going to sit there and get anxious with all the human festivities and other animals nearby. And I bet you're still thinking, well, I really, really, really want to celebrate with my pets. What can we do? Please tell me. So I guess I could tell you about parades, St. Patrick's parades, like parades, but instead of parades, it's with paws, P-A-W-S. Seriously, wordplay. Anyway, parades seem to be typically more dog-friendly because, dogs are commonly leash-trained and generally easier to leash-train, at least in my experience. I mean, trust me, leash training cats, that's a thing. Our cat Eisen just kind of sank into the floor when we tried, and he eventually started moving around willingly when we gave him some time. But the second we put on the leash on the back of his harness, he just kind of sank back into the floor again. It wasn't until we carried him to the backyard that he seemed to not mind, and he even started investigating the grass with our whippet Rhodey, R.I.P. A story that will be my own. But that was a very long process. And even if you have the patience to do that, to train a cat to be on a harness, what are the chances of your cat being excited to be around all the dogs and the people and the sights and the sounds? Come on, you are taking your cat to essentially their own personal nightmare. That being said, maybe parades are not for everyone. I mean, I can barely handle parades myself, so I couldn't imagine anything for most pets, but to each their own. If not parades, then how about pet and pet parent complimentary costumes? Throw a St. Patrick's Day party with some friends, dress up yourself and your furry friend, and make sure that there's plenty of green. Maybe, if you have a reptile that is green and big enough, you could always accessorize that pet as a boa of some kind. You know, those little flowery things that people wrap around their shoulders and stuff. You know, I'm trying to think of somebody that would really model that. I think maybe Marilyn Monroe. I believe she had like a white boa around her in some pictures. Then, aside from the boa, you then win? Nah. You vote to see whose costumes are the best. And I'll just be honest, normally I wouldn't care. Costume contests with only humans falls flat for me. But the instant you add a dog in there, or a cat, or even a duck, oh my gosh, I love ducks. But once you add an animal in, it is just fantastic. Let's face it, humans just aren't as cute as their pet counterparts. Compare the reactions of an audience when a human, wins a trophy, and then when a cat video goes viral. Which one do you think is more memorable? I mean, for me at least, and this might speak volumes of who I am, the cat video is going to be the one that I find most memorable. I mean, come on! There's a cat video fest every year, and you know I'm going to be checking that out. Side note, screenings of this fest will happen at different venues all over the world, and the money raised from these screenings goes straight to organizations that help cats. So, anyway, cat picture? Fantastic. But adorable cat wearing a silly leprechaun outfit on St. Patrick's Day? That's the finest piece of art that I can ever ask for. But what about a video of a cat trying to take off that costume? That, my friends, pure nirvana. However, what about the people like my husband that don't like to dress up in costumes? They just don't. Well, I guess they could go out and drink on St. Patrick's Day. For many, this actually does make the holiday for them. And before you give a shot of whiskey to your ferret, stop. Don't do it. Do not give alcohol to your pets. Still, while I can say for certain that there is no non-alcoholic adult beverage for the more exotic pets, there are indeed dog-friendly brews and dog and cat-friendly wines that you can purchase online. And who knows, you might be able to find it in little pet boutiques. I haven't seen them yet. Again, there's no alcohol in this. Actually, some of these products help your pet's digestion. Proteins, vitamins, and other animal-safe ingredients like turmeric and mint, all of these are in this wine or this brew for them. And I will say that I hope for all of you exotic pet owners that want to try these products, I really hope for you that there are going to be options coming to you soon in the future. Now, when all else fails, you can actually tempt your pet with a tasty treat from the local pet bakery. Or, even better, you can make it on your own. I've done it. And of course you're going to be making this into like a St. Patrick's Day themed kind of deal. There are plenty of websites that provide recipes that are healthy for your little buddies. And when I say healthy, I mean non-lethal. In the past, when we were poor college students, my husband and I actually baked some treats for Eisen. That boy loved the tuna that I managed to fold into the dough, and he even tried stealing them at one point. Then again, that cat really does love to eat, so he maybe just thought, oh, it's food. Put it in my belly, please. I like food. So, anyway, if you don't have the time to painstakingly make your own goodies and opt to shop with care. My supervisor told me a story of how, for a holiday, her parents bought some brightly colored trees for their pooch, and the next thing is the poor pup pooping neon pink and green and blue, all the colors bright on old farmhouse wooden floors. Imagine cleaning that up. But enough with the messy digestion story. Let's take a break. And in a few minutes, we'll see where exactly we can have a pet-friendly, fun time on St. Patrick's Day.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Doing with my pets on St. Patrick's Day? Well, I kind of plan to just sit back with the girls and watch this old Disney Channel movie that I remember kind of fondly about, and it's just perfect and cheesy enough for me to unwind to. There will probably be some green accessories for the girls, though I'm almost positive Regina will take off basically anything within like 5 minutes. I'm actually expecting 2 minutes this time around. But if you guys have any suggestions on how to get this girl to stay in her costume, then, I'd love to hear it. Maybe in the comments or the reviews. That'd be great. And also, well, just send me pictures of your best pets and I'll just gush over them because Regina will probably take a while to warm up to any outfits, if ever. First of all, I want you to brace yourselves because there are going to be a ton of dog and pet puns in this little section, and I am so sorry about that. Now, we have talked about what are some things we can do with our pets on St. Patrick's Day. The parades, the non-alcoholic cat and dog wines, the costume contest, and the tasty treats. But where are you going to go? Well, typically, there would be no problem finding places to go to. But there have been a lot of cancellations, and it's mostly because of the concerns over the coronavirus. Understandable, right? For instance, there's a Patrick's Parade in San Francisco at Patrick's Park. This is where they hold the event almost every single year, I think. And at this event for this year, there was supposed to be a Doga event, like yoga plus dogs. And it really makes me think of Doge, honestly. And also there was a canine walk down the carpet. in their dazzling costumes. And of course, for every event, there's prizes, and also a nice little picnic. It's a real bummer that this event was canceled because, well, gee, I would have thrown down the money to get tickets to fly over to San Francisco just for this. But that sounds really irresponsible, and I think my husband would kill me for that. Also, my mom would probably kill me for that too. But we can understand why this was canceled. We don't have to like the reason, though. So instead of talking about the events that are canceled, let's talk about the ones that aren't. For instance, if you're in Florida, swing by Crystal River for their St. Patrick's Dog Parade. Every animal, any animal that is anyone, is going to be going to the costume contest all dressed up and stuff. But aside from the main events, there is a pop-up dog park for the pups to enjoy, and also shops, restaurants, and bars for the humans to enjoy. Also, come on, it's Florida. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a Floridian at heart, and Florida seems like the best thing ever for me in my mind. But also, forget that part. The event is free, and free is always great, right? And if you're not keen on leaving the house, you can also celebrate online on Instagram for St. Patrick's Day. That came out pretty easily. So get the green and start accessorizing. Put your pets in the ultimate St. Patrick's Day scene and gush over everyone else's pets because those pictures are so freaking adorable. So for me, I'm really excited about dressing up Regina. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on her. She is she's not little anymore. She's 53 pounds or 55 pounds at this point. She was a rescue. They actually found her on the streets when she was 4 months old, and it was right after, about a few weeks after our dog Rhodey passed away, and I was just wanting to have someone to love deeply. And she kind of popped up in the rescue that one of my friends has. And she said, hey, this might be the one for you. So we got Regina, and we saw that she definitely looked pit bull to us, but there was also kind of an underlining Boston Terrier feel to her. Everyone kind of mistakes her for the Boston Terrier, actually. And now she's going to be turning 1 next month. April Fool's. Well, no, she's really turning 1 on April Fool's Day. And we are just kind of floored at how big she's gotten. She was about 16 pounds when we first met, and about 40 pounds that have, that's been added to her. That's kind of crazy, honestly. But you'll hear more stories about Regina. And, also about Cookie too. Don't worry about Cookie. You'll learn about the grandma. But anyway, if you intend on dressing up your pets, well, go to a costume party with your friends, or just have a cookout. I know that there are going to be a lot of areas that are going to have some great weather. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if Indiana is going to warm up enough for that. Fingers crossed. But, go and create your own event if you don't want to go anywhere else. Host a party at your place and hope for the best that people will come because, well, again, people are just panicking about this coronavirus thing. Mass panic is a ridiculous thing, but hey, this could probably mean more room at the dog park for Fido to run free and enjoy himself. But alas, I did not realize actually that you had to pay for a dog park, at least where we're at. That's so strange. So Tampa Bay seems like a place to be at for St. Patrick's Day. There are so many celebrations. I'm looking at a list right now that is just going. And this is from the Tampa Bay Times that I'm looking at it. So, they're pretty on top of getting all this information together. So there is going to be a blog party that I can see over here. There's going to be basically like a Shamrock search where I can just imagine just having the dogs on a leash and then letting them go and having them like roll around in the Shamrocks and just enjoying life. Man, I need to go to a Shamrock search now just to see Regina and Cookie do that. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway. There's also a Leprechaun Run where you dress in green and chase the leprechaun in this 5K. And that seems kind of interesting. I imagine they wouldn't let dogs do that because, well, I don't think they would take well to the leprechaun just running around. And let's see, what else can they do here? Oh, St. Puppy's Day. Aha! Specifically a pet day. So it says here, bring your dog to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with a pet costume contest. Corned beef and cabbage, green beer, live music, Irish dancers, giveaways, and adoptable pets on site. So that's pretty cool. So bring a 7-pound bag of dry dog food and get a free Irish beer. The benefits go to the Humane Society of Tampa Bay, and it's kind of like an all-day thing, which is pretty cool. So if you're in that Tampa area, please check it out. I mean, why not? Help the pups, help the cats, and just enjoy the corned beef and cabbage, I guess. So now the last one I want to talk about is the Single with Dogs at the Penny Whistle Pub. And this is in Houston, Texas. And essentially it is a St. Patrick's Day themed open play date for well-behaved. And essentially people will be having the chance to socialize over drinks, and their hopefully dogs will also socialize too. And again, it's well-behaved dogs. So as of right now, my puppy Regina would not be one of the favorable dogs to go in there. But there's going to be a section where you can adopt dogs who are looking for their forever homes, and just it would be a really great thing for that too, just to continue just the socializing of pets, essentially. So now, after all that, you still have the choice to stay home and enjoy time with your pups and family members. Again, I am going to be watching the stupid movie from my childhood, and I may or may not go to the pet bakery to grab something for the girls, but both of their birthdays are going to be on the same day, so I'm thinking we're going to hold off on that. And I would say for this particular time, always consider what your dogs are and your pets are most comfortable for. So if your cat is skittish but also leash trained, probably you should not be bringing that little buddy to the parade. If your dog is hyperactive and not trained well, that is another instance where you probably should not be bringing it to the exciting festivities. Now, maybe Fido is a really well-behaved dog. Yes, bring Fido. And if you have puppies, just bring them along and have them start socializing with each other and really building up good social skills for them, because the older they get, it gets kind of more difficult to do that. But anyway, we have talked about that, and I kind of want to move on to this other thing that I mentioned quite seriously, but also something that I couldn't really believe when I first heard this, and it's going to be green pets, and also why we shouldn't make pets green.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
We were talking about celebrating St. Patrick's Day with your dogs and dressing them up, having parties, and also coming up with like different events that you can go to with your dog and have a great time. Now, I don't want to be a fun sucker, but let's talk about this thing, and it's dyeing your pet green for St. Patrick's Day. First of all, whose idea was that? And second, you really shouldn't be doing that. And I've had conversations. One in particular is my hairstylist, and she's quite familiar with like the different chemicals and the dyes that she uses. She dyes my hair blue, so she's quite, and she has had a lot of experience over the years. So she knows what's going on when it comes to like different dyes. And she recognizes that there are probably new dyes now that are safer for pets, but it's essentially, why would we consent to something that they can't consent to? So when she was talking about it, it really made sense. So it's like, well, they don't have a voice to speak out for themselves. What right do we have to speak out and say, oh, let's do this for this one? It's really not right, honestly, now that I think about it more and more. Same thing with like painting their toenails. Like, there are a lot of toxins in there that could potentially hurt them. And I feel like people kind of like get caught up in the vanity of having a pretty dog going down the street, being festive, and being festive is fine. Put on a green leprechaun hat and maybe a green scarf, but hold back on the potential dangers of dyeing your dog green. Because again, why? I've seen even like pictures of dogs, well, poodles in particular, that being dyed pink and blue, and I don't understand why. It's a good statement, I guess. You know, a good fashion statement, not a good moral statement, because it's not. But I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around it. Gosh. So let's go down the rabbit hole and talk about this really weird thing that I've noticed and seen that's trending on the internet. And it's basically cats that get the haircut to make them look like a stegosaurus. Have you seen those? They're one in particular I remember seeing is like this white fluffy cat, and just down its back it had plates on it. Like their fur was shaped into like little plates, so it would look like a stegosaurus, and it'd go all the way down its back, all the way down its tail. And it just was such a bizarre thing to see, but also kind of cool. But then I keep on thinking, well, it's not dangerous for the cat, but do they like it? That's the major thing. it seems like sometimes it's just purely for the enjoyment of the human that has, that owns the cat, or, well, in this case, the cat. And it's just kind of concerning, like, well, what else are you going to do with this cat? And are you also going to start dyeing it different colors? And are you going to start painting its toenails with toxic fingernail polish, or just all these things? And, I do realize that there are products that are not toxic to animals, but it's just kind of, in my mind, well, why can't we just let a dog be a dog? I mean, sometimes we have a toy poodle, Cookie, and we can tell whenever she feels good and when she feels pretty, and, it's after she gets a bath and after she gets trimmed up and stuff. And, I can understand the idea of, like, helping with the body image or the physical appearance of a pet. Like, they feel good when they get a nice little bath, even though they hate baths at first. And maybe they feel so much better. Well, they do feel so much better when you brush them. It's very soothing. But it's just going to that extreme that just kind of bothers me. And again, it's very cool looking. It's, great for photo taking, that's for sure. But aside from that, I just can't see the benefit for the cat at all. Maybe it cools them down. Maybe. But it just seems a bit much for me. So let's get back on track. For dyeing dogs different colors, a quick Google search actually shows that coloring the dog's hair means that its entire body will have to be exposed to, toxic coloring. And, well, when you're dyeing, just think of when you're doing it for yourself. You're getting dye in your ears. Sometimes you'll be unlucky and it'll get in your eyes. And it just kind of gets in all those little places that, could potentially hurt you. And in the case of a dog, well, it could get into their eyes, nose, their mouth, their ears. And if they swallow that chemical dye, even just licking its coat, it can lead to vomiting and nausea and diarrhea, among other critical illnesses. And again, this could be, just simple dyes that we use on ourselves, but I don't feel like I should risk doing that to Cookie, for instance, who's just a white poodle, a white and cream poodle. And it's a lot to really swallow when you think about all those potential illnesses that can happen. And I just want my dog and my cat too to be happy, and let me be the one that expresses herself in her blue hair. And I think someone put it actually perfectly online, and it's, your cat and your dog would never ask you or want you to change your appearance because of what they want. Or at least they have no ability to voice that. So if they can't voice that, then why would we do something to their physical image that that they can't really approve or deny that they want? So it goes into this really weird thing with my own teaching style and working with my students. And I don't want to say that my students are like pets, but it always kind of makes me think of, well, I would really like my students to have a voice and feel comfortable with their voice. And then I consider, well, the people that don't have a voice are usually taken advantage of. And I'm sounding all preachy and stuff, but it goes down a very long line of like graduate school that I went to for just knowing how to think and process knowledge. It's really
a really convoluted thing, and I definitely am not going back to school after graduate school. Definitely not a PhD. Unless, ... But in all seriousness, I just don't like the idea of, at least for me, doing this to my dogs where they don't have a way of saying, no, Sam, I really don't like it when you do that. Aside from, their yapping. But again, that's a totally different thing.
So we've talked about all that, and it kind of just leads into this really important topic of, well, how do we protect our pets and how do we keep them healthy and safe? And, well, I mean, just kind of like an idea of like how to consider this. It's this story that one of my friends told me a while ago, and it's, Christmas time, everyone has peppermint and schnapps in this house, and they're enjoying themselves with their hot cocoa and stuff, and then they turn around and they see that all of the peppermint schnapps is gone. They turn around and they don't turn around again, but they look around for the dog, and he's like passed out on the floor because he was the culprit of, having all of those, pints of peppermint schnapps. And at a glance, it's very funny. But then you think about, well, was this the best thing for my pet's health? That is the question there. And while holidays are fun and we should be enjoying ourselves, we really need to consider, hey, we need to be safe too, both humans and pets.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
Essentially, we talked about the human aesthetic with regard to our pets. In other words, we talked about why people do artsy stuff to their pets and their fur and all kinds of stuff. So this kind of gets into the discussion of, well, what is healthy for your pets and what will make sure that they stay safe? So I actually ran into an article on the ASPCA.org site, and it really kind of covers a lot of what I kind of assumed, and this brings me all the way back to the story that I was telling you just a few moments ago. And it's interesting. Apparently it says that an hour after ingestion, you start seeing signs of depression and drunkenness. So my friend's dog probably was, starting to act that way. And our initial response is probably, "Aw, he's drunk." And, at face value, it seems pretty funny. But then you start noticing the difficulty walking, the sedation, upset stomach, all things of, being drunk. But if enough ethanol is ingested, there might be a chance of your dog falling into a coma. And so one of the bigger concerns is an intoxicated pet vomiting and being unable to protect their airway. So they could inhale their vomit into their lungs and get pneumonia and possibly suffer from that. And there's so much to kind of think about that, and being more responsible with where you put your drinks and how you prevent your pet from getting into your glasses, your mugs, whatever, and just be smart about the cleanliness of your house, I guess. So there was also another thing that the ASPCA kind of went over, and that's Shamrocks. And you usually think, oh, they're no big deal. And the problem with it is that for dogs and pets in general, if you ingest this plant, it can actually cause them like stomach upset and drooling and like head shaking. It gets intense as you keep on going, and larger amounts that are eaten will cause low blood sugar, and low blood calcium and damage to the kidneys. And they taste fairly bitter, so most animals won't really eat at it. But that, I mean, seriously, Regina eats like a piece of bark every single time she goes outside. So pets will basically eat anything. So it's something that maybe you should monitor a little bit more, especially when you're getting gifts of Shamrocks and stuff coming in for St. Patrick's Day. So keep it out of reach of the pets, just as you would, an infant, and just stay aware of your pets during this time period. There is also the issue of, pet anxiety. If you are having a big party with your friends, you should be very considerate about how you want to handle your pets at this time period. Again, it goes back to is your pet skittish? Is it a very chill dog or anything like that? At some point, there is a place where your animal will have a lot of anxiety, and you need to have a plan of how to take care of your pet at that point. Being, aware enough that you can still keep an eye on your pet, make sure that they're okay, and, still be able to have some fun. It's a balance, yes. But for me, I'm always aware of my pets, and that's I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, but maybe you should try to be a little more responsible with your drinking. If you're drinking to the point that you are not aware of your surroundings, then you have been drinking too much, unfortunately. And I don't want to say that I haven't had that opportunity. That hasn't happened to me. I'm not saying that. But it's a totally human thing to overindulge. But there's also another level of responsibility to you because, as people say, puppies and small animals, they're kind of like, test babies. So if you're able to take care of this little animal, then that's great for you. But if you start, getting drunk and neglecting the needs of your pets, neglecting the needs of your baby, that spells for a lot of trouble for you. The major takeaway from this is that, you need to be aware, and also if you have any reason to suspect that your pet has ingested something that is toxic to them, then you should definitely contact your vet as soon as possible, or the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center. And that thing is a 24-hour hotline, and that number is 888-426-4435. Now, if it is an emergency, phones are amazing things. Google and find the closest emergency room for pets. And that could very well save your pet's life. But again, if if you run into a sick animal, you need to make sure that you give it as much attention as you can to make sure that you're aware of what's going on with its body. What are the symptoms? All kinds of stuff like that. The terrifying thing is when you freeze and you're not sure what to do, and you've been trained in it, but you don't feel prepared for it. And that is the time that you reach out to somebody, anyone that might know what to do. And especially if it's like an emergency happening at that moment. Like maybe you forget, who do I call? Or, what should I do? My dog is choking. All these kind of stuff, you start really worrying and you don't know what to do. And that's okay. And major thing is that you need to assess the situation. You need to decide what kind of symptoms is your pet showing, and basically be the middleman between them and treatment. And I use this kind of as a basis for the first aid training that I had done before, but it was mental health first aid. But I feel like there's a lot of connections, intersections between that and physical first aid. And also I have a lot of weird certifications that I won't get into, but a lot of it is, how can I help this person get to the people that can help them? So applies to your pet. So keep that in mind when you are, when you have a moment to really get your head straight in an emergency situation. And try not to panic. It's hard. It's easier said than done, but it will definitely help you during those times. So what's next? I talked about some sobering stuff. I've talked about celebration, all that kind of stuff. And, I think it's actually a good time to think about celebrating this new thing that I'm about to go over in a few seconds.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Celebrations, parties, St. Patrick's Day, the green beverages, the green dye, which you should not be doing for your dogs or cats or any other furry friend. Let's see, what else? Safety. Gotta be safe during St. Patrick's Day for your pet's sake. And also, just this next thing is gonna blow your mind. It blew my mind when I first saw it, actually. And that is the Cadbury Egg Contest. Well, Becoming the Bunny Contest. And I'm so excited for this because, it's adorable for one thing, and it's driving my husband crazy. Like, I keep on talking about it. I forget that I'm telling him about it, and then I tell him again and tell him about Egbert and how wonderful this little kid cat is. I love it. But let me tell you about this. So Cadbury Eggs is basically looking to retire their bunny, and that is, sweet, and, I'll definitely miss him. But we have the chance to become the bunny, the clucking bunny,
and the opportunity to also receive a cash prize of $5,000. So Kitty, Egbert is going to be like, rich pretty much. But let me go over the other finalists, because they're down to 10, and it's basically going to be decided by votes of our Americans, basically. So, starting at the gallery of finalists, you have Lunchbox, who's like 24 pounds, I believe, and he's from Oklahoma. He is basically up for adoption, and in the picture, he has his little bunny ears, and he looks kind of grouchy, which is kind of adorable in its own way. Next is Lieutenant Dan from Ohio, and he has no back legs, and he has a wheelchair, so named appropriately. He looks like a very happy dog, and I would probably, pet him a lot and let him stay at my house for a while. Then there is this adorable little thing called Ducky, and let's see, where are you from, Ducky? From California, Huntington Beach, California. So that's a cute little puppy, but not as cute as Egbert. Then there is Ginger from Tennessee, and Ginger is a hamster that has bunny ears, and it's, according to the people, she's very spunky and sweet, and she loves to play. She has a very short bio, actually. Then, after that, we have a duck named Dilly Bar Dab, and he is from Missouri. And, the clucking is a thing for, chickens, but I keep on associating it with just birds in general for some weird reason. I might just be tired. But I can see it working, but Dilly needs to, dally away. I don't think he's going to win, but he's really cute. Then the next two are actually pretty hilarious to me. 2 alpacas, or are they llamas? Let me see. Are they llamas or alpacas? Let's see. A llama, yeah. So they're both llamas. One is Consuela from Pennsylvania, and the other is Ricky Bobby from Ocala, Florida. So I think that they're both pretty appropriately named based on their images and where they're from. Now, the next one is a pig from Daytona Beach, Florida, and Duck Song is a lovely little colorful piggy that I just want to steal the sunglasses from. But next, the very best and the most wonderful little cat in the world, aside from my own cat, of course, and that is Egbert from Virginia. Now, Egbert is a little special. He is a rescue, and he cannot use his hind legs because he had meningitis earlier in his life. But he is adorable, and his face, I can just, those memes of people putting bread on a cat's face, and they have a cutout for the cat's face to go into. It basically, Egbert looks like that all the time. How the face is pushed back and stuff, and I just love it. And I'll stop talking about Egbert, but he's so cute and I want him. But last but not least is a service dog, so he might have an edge because of how cool that is. And it is Dodger from Arizona, and he looks like a pretty powerful looking black lab to me. That's a win on my part, but Egbert is the number one winner. So I'm going to go ahead and cast my votes. Click. And you're going to need to sign in to vote. So make sure you have your email ready, and then you are off to vote, and hopefully your vote will count. Wait, what? You can apparently vote more than once. You can vote once a day, and then for the rest of the days until March 18, you can vote. So, what is today?
today is the 12th, so I can have, I guess 5 more votes now. Is that right? Yeah, because I already voted on March 12th. So, guys, get over here, get on bunnytryouts.cadburyusa.com and vote for your favorite finalist. And I will just say that finalist is Egbert. So, get on your computers, get on your phones, get to this website, and for the rest of the days until the 18th, keep on voting for Egbert. Egbert is amazing. He's so cute. Go onto this website and look at his adorable little face. You just want to squeeze his little cheeks. And also, I'm sorry, I have to keep on going on about Egbert. Just, when you see his picture, you can imagine the most adorable leprechaun hat on his head. And he'll just be the most special little guy in the world. Aside from, of course, my cat, who is the best gentleman in the entire world. Number 1, very best. But overall, keep voting, keep visiting this, and we should know who the winner is very, very soon. So, America, it is your job to get Egbert to win. Overall, it's actually really silly how oddly invested I get into these competitions, especially when they involve little animals, the ones that you could just pick up in your hands and just pet forever, but then also the ones that can crush you with their sheer weight. It's no matter what kind of animal it is, even if it's a bear, I will be fine with it as long as it does not rip my face off. So I'm excited to see what is going to happen with this. I'm also excited to see other contests where our continuing retiring group of animal celebrities are going to leave some spots vacant. So, who do you think is going to be next? Did we get a new animal for Tony the Tiger? I don't think so. Well, I think it's about time to fill that position. It's a really big shoes to fill, but hey, someone great is gonna be replacing him eventually, unless people just want to stick to him for ever and ever and ever, which is understandable. Some people just don't like change. But let's carry on. I really want to talk to you about this thing that happened the other day. It was this past weekend, and I just was kind of floored. And this really connects back to this entire, you need to be responsible for your pets, and you need to basically treat them as if they are your child. So, I will give you a second or 2, maybe 3, to really think about what could have possibly happened.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
The most precious thing I've ever seen, aside from my own cats. So,
we've basically talked about some holidays that are coming up and how responsible we should be towards our pets. And this kind of goes back to the story that I was telling you about, and it was almost traumatizing at first, but it turned out okay. So my husband and I are driving up the ramp to the interstate, and we see at the side of the road this animal that's like twisting around on the ground and looks like it's writhing. And I got terrified because I thought that something was terribly wrong with this animal. So naturally we stop and we go and get this dog because, well, we don't want it to get hit by another car, and they're all speeding past by us and not caring about this living thing. And of course me, who is walking down the road too, it's like, traffic is a mess pretty much. But the dog was basically just rolling around in the dirt on his back, and it was, I think about it and it's adorable because he looked like he was actually having a really good time. And when I called him over, he walked by and over to me, and you could tell that he was actually a very good dog, and he clearly had some owners that trained him well, aside from him not staying where he was supposed to be. The problem was that he didn't have a collar, and we didn't know how to contact his owners, and we were assuming that he was living pretty close to the interstate in the neighborhood just right off of it. But again, we didn't know where to start. So after us freaking out for a little bit, trying to figure out what are we going to do, I suddenly realized, oh, well, maybe we should check if he has a microchip. And by the way, this dog's name is Haas, and he is adorable. He looks like a boxer pit bull mix, and it was a very beautiful dog. But back to the story. So this is on Sunday, so most vets are closed, so we had to go to the emergency animal care center. And the really bizarre thing is that we were the second people coming up to them that had a dog that they just found. So next to us was a very small, cute dog, and then we come in with this barrel-chested dog that's really nice, but also very curious. And we find out, okay, awesome, he has a microchip, but also the other dog does not. So we don't know what happened with that one. But we then go to our home because we're basically waiting on a phone call from these people, and we're just hanging out. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we end up with another dog? I know that my husband probably would not have let that happen, but it was in the back of my mind, and I was thinking, man, actually, if we have another, bigger dog, well, then maybe our baby girl can be a little bit better socialized. But we got the phone call, and the lady was worried because she thought that her dog had gotten into a fight because a neighbor had been going on about how Haas should stay away from children because he was violent, which is definitely not the case. Haas was amazing. So we dropped him off, and that's really about the story. And I keep on thinking about Haas and how great a dog he was, but it all goes back to being responsible. The responsible thing for this owner would have been to have a collar with their contact information on, like their primary contact information. And also, I'm not really for people just letting their dogs out in the back and not monitoring them. But that could just be the control freak in me. But I'm not going to tell people how they're going to take care of their dogs, especially when, my dogs are still a bit rough around the edges. But again,
you're watching over these animals because they could get into some trouble, get hurt. And if we hadn't stopped for Haas on the side of the road, he could have been very well killed by oncoming traffic. So I don't want to give myself a pat on the back. That's not what it's about. It's really about taking care of your animals and making sure that they are safe and comfortable and very well protected, healthy. So I guess in this case, I really want you guys to make sure that your dogs or your pets' information is correct on their collar. Make sure that they have their vaccines up to date, and make sure that you're able to regularly go to a vet instead of just always taking them into the ER for the pets. But there's a story behind me specifically telling you guys that, but it's for another day. But I don't think I would have been able to handle the idea of Regina rolling around on the grass right next to the road of this interstate. She probably would have been having a ton of fun, but she is such a wild, rebellious spirit that she would probably just be running around all the time, and we do not need that. Cookie probably would have fallen asleep at the side of the road and gotten really dirty and started matching the dirt around her. But that's mean. Cookie is actually a really, really nice girl. But she has her own little hiccups. But if I did not think I could handle protecting 2 small animals, actually 3 small animals, though Eisen doesn't really need protecting for the most part. But being able to protect these animals is one of my most important, one of my biggest priorities because, well, again, they're like kids, especially Regina. She's not even a year old. And I just worry that what I do and what I don't do will negatively affect my girls and my sweet boy. And I guess that's really something that I think all pet parents and all human parents are thinking too. Like, am I doing the right thing for my baby, basically? And I think you are doing right by you if your pet is happy and fed and sheltered. But that's me preaching. And again, I'm not the best pet parent, but I do love my girls and my boy, and I want to make sure that they're okay. And if that's all I need to do, then I guess I'm doing something right. But now it's almost St. Patrick's Day. Almost, pretty soon, St. Patrick's Day. So that means that we are on the road to a very interesting week ahead of us. So, fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll be perfectly fine and that we don't have to be scared of the drunk people running around downtown. But, I think that, I think we'll be good. On another note, though, this reminds me that I should really check out the Walgreens near where I live to see if there are any, little and very cheap little things for Reggie and Cookie to wear. Eisen will refuse to wear anything. He removed his bow tie a long time ago, and it was very sad. But I need to get something for these girls for St. Patrick's Day. And hopefully they'll stay intact, but that's why I'm going to be getting those cheap ones, because Regina will probably rip them to shreds, and I just have to accept it because she's still in the mood for chewing stuff. But anyway, hopefully that'll be resolved in the future, and I don't... Again, if I do things right by my dogs and by my cat, everything will be fine. Everything will fall into place. Now, I just don't know. And you know what? That's just about it. And, well, we'll see what I talk about next time. Probably April Fools? No. Maybe talking a little bit about tricks that you should not be doing with your dog. So it's kind of related to April Fools. But the road is open and the path is clear. But thank you for listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that'd be awesome. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.